Good evening, cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And this is going to be our reaction / review of Series 13, Episode 3, Doctor Who Flux, called Once, comma,
Upon a
Time.
Upon time.
They've done Once Upon a Time before, like the title, but there was no punctuation or anything in it.
Right.
I'm very confused.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this episode?
I don't know. It feels like one of those episodes that when we're all done, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, okay, that totally makes sense.
Okay. That's why I asked you first, because that's where I'm at too.
Okay. But for right now, I guess I get it.
I guess I get it. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it. Like, I guess I get what they're trying to do, not necessarily what I think they're going to do.
Well, I mean, they're obviously setting the Doctor up to regenerate, right? So there's going to be something that, they said it multiple times in this episode that she couldn't withstand it, that she was going to,
Right.
break apart, whatever. I just like, okay, we took everybody and hid them away in their past timelines, except like Yaz says that it's not right.
The details are wrong.
The details are wrong. This didn't ever happen to me. This isn't my house. And so then everything, like, so the Doctor seeing, I don't remember the actress's name, but the other Doctor that was introduced last season.
She's Ruth. She's the unnumbered Doctor.
Unnumbered Doctor, right.
Now,
so the fact that she sees her, does that mean that that's wrong too? Because if Yaz's timeline is wrong, then Dan's timeline is wrong. Is the Doctor's timeline or the details
and then
wrong?
Going after the Ravengers with it's the Ravengers, but the guy, not the Cyberman,
the head Ravenger guy,
Swarm and his sister. They have shown up in the Big Finish stuff, and they were introduced in this season. But the idea that the Doctor, the militarized Doctor, which we know we know from the Time War with the Daleks that the Doctor was the one who pulled the trigger to end the Time War.
Right.
But this was very odd to me because making the Doctor the commander of this unit to stop a group of people who want to release the control of time. That's how I took the episode. Like that's what I took what the Ravengers are trying, or the Ravengers. I'm gonna go with that until I'm told differently.
Ravengers.
But the idea of them, they want to not allow the Time Lords to control time.
Right.
They want it to be released and on its own.
Right.
And so
is that what the blue stuff is?
Well, the blue stuff they kind of explain is because the Doctor jumped into the time stream, the time vortex, whatever it is.
The time storm?
The time storm, whatever
storm.
Whatever's that decision to jump in there to save Dan and Vender and
Yaz.
And Yaz. I wanted to call her by her real name, and I knew that wasn't right. To jump in there and try to save them, the damage was done as soon as she made that decision to go in there. And the Ravengers and Swarm and the Ravengers get what they wanted, which is these blue swarming things, which are already kind of talked about with the Ninth Doctor, with the dragon things, when they went back and Rose tried to save her dad. They were trying to fix time that was broken. So I'm never going to say continuity in this show is wrong, because continuity in this show is wrong all the time.
Just watch anything that Moffat did.
Just watch Moffat and decisions that Chibnall does is different than what Moffat did, which was different than Davies did, which is different than anybody who did it beforehand. So I love the individual story arcs that they're trying to tell. But with this, I hate the word retcon. I hate it. Because there's new information in the story, doesn't retcon what you already knew.
Well, not in Doctor Who.
Not in storytelling, period.
Yeah,
this is my big thing about Star Wars when people are saying, well, they retcon something because we learned something new in a book or something, and now all of a sudden, like, well, they retconned this. No, they gave you new details that changes your perspective on that story. But with this, it feels like a bit of a retcon if they had that one scene with the old lady who feels like an older version of the Doctor.
Maybe.
And her saying, you've already messed it up. The flux is your fault. This is what's going to happen no matter what.
Right.
So stop trying to fix it. This universe is done.
Yeah.
And when that whole scene happens, I'm like, they're retconning it. They're retconning the Timeless Child. They're retconning all of Doctor Who. They're like, that's what it feels like to me. And
that's what the Timeless Child was.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean,
I don't want to say that.
If else just coming into the Doctor Who universe and going, boom.
Yeah.
And then leaving.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And it's not.
I don't know.
And it's not like they haven't done this before with Never Tell Me the Rules. You only get 12 regenerations, and Matt Smith is like, nope, don't ever tell me the rules. I'm going to change them. And the Time Lords come in and they kind of retcon it that way. But I just feel like there's something that they're setting up that's going to change the perspective of what the overall story of Doctor Who is.
I don't know, because they already did that with the Timeless Child.
Right.
And there was, I know that I've heard that this whole story arc was, Chibnall's not going in and changing this, I don't know if you want to call it a season, because of backlash or whatever from the last season. My understanding is he had this all written out. It was, it is the way it was in his head before he ever started. So I'm not saying that because of backlash that he's changing it, but there was a pretty good amount of backlash after last season and the Timeless Child and completely rewriting the rules. And
they did set up the Timeless Child stuff. They made comments about that with Capaldi's last season with Bill.
Right, but when one is taking over for another, they're going to collab.
And they're going to lay some groundwork and stuff like that.
Right, so that it's not like a hard stop and a completely new.
It's just very interesting to me because I'm really digging this story. I'm digging that this continuous story. And this particular episode, where time is messing back, like the Time Lords specifically, but the Doctor in general, and I meant to say it that way. It's the Time Lords are the ones who mess with time completely, and the Doctor's the one who runs around and just kind of plays with the concepts of time and what it means.
Right.
But time finally having this moment of kicking back, and the planet of time and the Reavers trying to release time and let time be its thing, but yet they have these pillars of control of time. Like laying all that out in front of us. It's like I like it, but I talked about this in the first episode. I talked about this with the previous seasons. There's stakes. And there's really stakes to what's going on.
Yeah. I just feel like I feel like I need to get to the end to find out where all this was going, which I'm not sure if I like. I don't know. I like to like the episode for what it is, not
Yeah,
leave the
that's fair.
episode going, well, I really want this whole thing to end, so I know what all this meant. I don't necessarily like that, but we'll see.
I feel as much as I feel confused, I still feel excited about what the next week is going to be.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's
and
weird
maybe
because
that's
it's not like I
yeah.
didn't like the episode. I just am confused and want to know what it all means.
The other the vendors,
Girlfriend, wife,
girlfriend,
whatever.
wife, love interest, whatever,
Baby mama,
her
apparently.
story of the aftermath of the Flux and talking about the Daleks and the Cybermen and the Centaurans all fighting over the scraps of what is left. I like that conversation because
Yeah.
that keeps the Centaurans, the Daleks, and the Cybermen all within their characters. They're going to continuously fight for ultimate control.
Right. And like she says, the joke's on you, basically, because what are you fighting over?
Right.
That you're all that's left. And so you're just, one of you's going to kill the other two, and then you will be the only thing left. Like, what is the point?
And then Swarm later in the episode says we just want to rule in hell. So
Yeah.
there's this overlying, we're going to destroy everything with all four of them. We're going to destroy everything with the concept of to do it, and then we just going to have control of the 5 pieces that are left, and that's what we always wanted, is to have absolute control of whatever is left, however big or small it is, right?
Right.
And so I like that kind of continuity of your bad guys, because the Doctor always wants to allow people to let the universe be the universe, right? And she or he are always fighting against the absolute suppressors that are the Centaurans, the Cybermen, the Daleks, and now the Reavers. And so I like that kind of continuity is there, even though we're talking about retconning and how that feels like they're changing what's going to happen or resetting the universe as we know it or whatever. But there's that continuity with that sitting there, and we still have the silence, the Sweeping Angels, and we have the silence coming too. But no, the Ood. We have the Ood coming, but
Right.
the Weeping Angels
Right.
are in the time stream, like, and they're
Well,
stalking Yaz, and
that's their MO. They send people back in time. That's
Yeah.
what they do. So it makes sense that the Weeping Angels would have something to do with time. And then if you go with, is that Moffat? Where you find that the 2 women on the council
Yeah, I think
are
it's Moffat.
actually the Weeping Angels.
the ones that have their face
Their
covered
faces
or whatever.
covered
Yeah.
because they're ashamed of what they've done.
Yeah.
Then they're actually Time Lords, ladies. So I mean that makes sense that the Weeping Angels are there. It's kind of weird that Yaz is who they've seemed to have gleaned onto.
Yeah.
And then these, what were they called? The packet, the statues that held all of these like
The passengers who held
like realities.
realities or the consciousness of people that they have captured, that the Reavers have control of. Like, that whole thing is one of those things where I'm like, that's going to be something they're going to explain the importance of that. They introduced it here. They're going to explain the importance
Hopefully.
of it. Well, I mean, Chip Dahl's been pretty good about, like, introducing a thing and then coming back to it later. Like,
Yeah.
he's been pretty good about
Yeah.
it. Moffat will introduce a thing and it doesn't go anywhere, and then, like,
He forgets about it.
he moves on to something else
Look,
or
a
whatever.
squirrel.
Yeah, which I'm okay with, because some of the stuff that he introduced just didn't work.
Yeah.
And so Moffat was never afraid of, let's try something this didn't work, or we thought it was going to go somewhere else, or we thought it was going to evolve into this and it didn't, and so
Yeah.
we're just going to go away from it. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. With Chibnall, he's always like, we're going to introduce this concept and we're going forward with it because he has a plan for the overall, because he knew going in that he was only going to do 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And if he knew he was only going to do 3 seasons, he's going to introduce something down the line and then work his way to it. And that makes a lot more sense.
Well, he better hurry up.
Right, he's got 3 episodes left this season, the 60th anniversary,
Yep.
or the New Year's special, which they're starting to talk about already now, the 60th, and then whatever the transition episode's going to be,
Right.
into the new Doctor. I like the vendor girlfriend story to have some emotional context of the decisions that are going on, but
Yeah.
we also have it with Dan and his girlfriend from the museum.
Right.
Girlfriend's kind of a quote finger, that wannabe girlfriend or whatever. I'm still questioning. I'm still questioning. I'm okay with it. I'm going to allow myself to engage in the story that's being told. But Dan feels like a fill-in right now.
Well, Bender does too.
Vendor does
I'm
a
like,
little
what?
bit. Yeah.
I don't. What is their? Why are they here?
Right.
What is their
Why don't we
purpose?
have the St. Clairs? Right. Like
Right.
like why don't we have them
Right.
here?
Right. Instead of these two.
Yeah. And
Or why didn't we just let it be Yaz and the Doctor?
Yaz and the Doctor. Right. Yeah. And this was another episode where Yaz questioned the Doctor, and the Doctor kind of snapping at Yaz, saying, "Why does everything ever have to be a conversation?"
Right.
And Yaz kind of just eating it a little bit, like just kind of absorbing it, but there's
She made a face.
she made a face, but she didn't go back at her.
Right. She
And then
did
the
that.
Doctor was kind of nice to Dan and told Dan, "Hey, we're going to save your girlfriend or your friend
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah.
and get back on the TARDIS." Like that. And Vinder talking about the TARDIS too. We didn't talk about
Yeah,
that either.
yeah.
Vinder's like, "Oh, this is a TARDIS." So
Is this a TARDIS?
Yeah.
And you're like,
so
do you
Vinder's
know?
a timeline that the Time Lords are part of the universe.
yeah, yeah.
And-
And he's obviously in the future because his girlfriend, wife, whatever, is in the future because she's at the end of whatever's going on.
Right.
So
After the fluxes happened and stuff.
right. It's all very confusing.
It's very confusing. I really like I said, I want to like this episode. I think I like this episode, but for as I sit right now, I'm more confused than I am
Yeah.
okay
Yes.
with this.
Yes. Yes.
Let us know what you thought of this episode and our reaction and review of it in the comments down below. Please be nice as a requirement around here. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, follow us on all the social media stuff, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links are in the description down below. And until next time, cult members, I